Okay. So what I'm trying to say to you is you've only got so much energy per day, and you're trying to spread your energy amongst all your daily activities, trying to give energy to work, trying to give energy to your family and your children, you're giving a bit to volunteering, you're trying to be a good, kind person, and you're trying to do your spiritual and religious beliefs, and then there's also a bit of yourself. And if we all had to do this activity, we're going to realize that our own cup gets very little. My camera doesn't like me holding it, it seems. Our own cup gets very little in comparison to the rest. And for that reason, we often end up empty, we end up exhausted, we end up with so little energy because we're giving it all away. So my workshop today is saying you got to be very careful where you're sharing all your energy. In actual fact, you've got to be quite stingy. Here, where I live in Johannesburg, we haven't had water for 2 days. And it is quite amazing how you start really noticing what you use water for, and how you start becoming quite stingy with water. You're very careful because you need water. So my workshop today, I am going to suggest, let me just put this back, and I am going to encourage you. Come on, camera, it's not working. Wait a minute. Sorry, people, give me a second. My camera is not working here. Let me just get it to work. Come on. There we go. So today, I am going to be suggesting that you become very stingy of your water. You become very stingy and very protective of who gets what drops in your life. And I'm going to encourage you today that the cup that says self needs to have more water in, or else we run the risk of not only crisis fatigue, but we run the risk of burnout, and we run the risk of becoming really physically ill. Because our bodies, our minds, and our souls need water. It needs energy. It needs empathy. And we cannot just give it all away to, look at this one. Where is it? To work. Work is so full. To our families, they get so much of us. To other people who we volunteer for, we give a bit to our God and our church, and at the end there is absolutely nothing left for ourselves. There's probably 1 or 2 drops in here. So obviously, if you do not take care of yourself, you are going to burn out. So let's do a little activity now so that you can just evaluate yourself, right? Let's use our solution-focused scaling question as a self-help tool. So ask yourself this question, right now, today, okay? On a scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is that you are burnt out, you have compassion fatigue, and you are overwhelmed. And you feel like, I just can't do this. 10 is you're energized, you've got compassion, satisfaction, you are feeling ready for more clients, more people in the shelter, and you are actually feeling really good. Ask yourself, on that scale, right, where are you now? Where are you now? And I'd like somebody to volunteer, please, and share with us, because it's a very good self-help tool. Scaling is something we can use on a daily basis to help us ascertain where we are and what we need to do differently. So let me see who's willing to chat with me and tell me, where are you on that scale? Come on, somebody's going to chat to me.
I think it is Sarah again.
Yes, Sarah, talk to me.
I think I'm in the burnout and the fatigue because I don't feel to do anything. I just need to sleep. I don't want to think too much. I don't want any noise. I feel like I can be alone and don't talk and just close my eyes and bring myself back. It's like I'm losing. I lost myself now. I don't know. That's what I'm feeling now.
So, Sarah, at the moment and right now, you feel lost, as if you've
I
lost yourself, right?
feel like that.
So, Sarah, if I may, where would you put yourself on the scale? Would you be at a 0? Would you be at a 0.3? Would you be at a 1? Would you be at a
I think
1.1?
I think I'm on 1.5
Okay.
when I check. Yeah.
So at the moment, your energy levels, your burnout, your capacity to care for others
Mm,
is at about a 1.5, right?
exactly.
Now you can ask yourself a few questions, right? How how did you what helps you to get to a 1.5? What has helped you move from a naught to a 1.5? What tiny small things are currently helping and working that you're not at a 0 or even a -1? What small things are helping at the moment?
I think I started to minus some of the things that I was doing because I realized that it's too much in my hand and in my mind. Work, family, children, church, studying, crises, etc. So it's too much. So I had to decide which one must I live with it, which one I must just bank it there and take it there because now I can't do everything.
So, Sarah, the one thing that helped, right, that stopped you from sliding all the way down is to
Mm,
start prioritizing, right? To start
exactly.
saying what is most important and essential, and what can I leave to the side, and what must I give away because I'm not going to get there. So
Yeah.
prioritizing has helped to get you to a 1.5 and not make you slip all the way into
Mm,
complete fatigue.
yes.
Okay, so prioritizing helps. So in Sarah's case, Sarah needs to realize that she is constantly going to have to ask herself, what is most important right now, right? And Sarah, to stay at a 1.5 and hopefully move to a 1.8, Sarah's constantly going to have to work on her skill of prioritizing, because Sarah needs to be careful of taking on not too much, but taking on so much that it makes her ill. So for you, Sarah, prioritizing is a vital skill. What is most important? What can I let go of? What can I do tomorrow? And what must I give away? So using the scaling question to ascertain or to evaluate, where am I now? And even if you're at a 0.1, okay, then to ask yourself, but what tiny little thing has helped me so far? Where am I now? What has helped me get to that place? What must I do more of? And what must I do differently so that I can move not to a 10? Our goal isn't get to 10 and energized and totally happy, because we're working in a mental health pandemic. Our goal is to get from a 1.5 to a 1.8, or from a 0.5 to a 1, or maybe from a 2 to a 2.5. Small increments of change in order to help us move, or to help us not slide back. All right. Because research shows us that people who work with other people in trauma, in distress, have high risks for burnout. All right. Because putting the needs of others before your own is burnout. Having unrealistic expectations like, I will save this person's life, or I will be able to get her to make her own decisions, might be an unrealistic expectation. I don't, we might have a lack of family support, but often a person in mental health and caregiving, often you are the family support. You are the supporter of your family, right? And as Sarah was saying, often burnout and stress start because we've got so many cups that we are having to fill and share our energy with. And for that reason, we get anxious, depressed, we feel exhausted, and we start becoming sick, physically sick. All right. And our sleep changes. So the question now is, how do we become mindful to shift this? How do we set realistic expectations? How do we rethink our roles, right? What does self-care and practicing self-care really, really look like? Is it really that we have to join groups to help us? Or are we not taking enough breaks? Are we not relaxing enough? So let's look at what self-care looks like. Let's look at what is necessary so that we do not get to complete burnout and compassion fatigue. Because we all know that when we work with other people suffering, we get touched by it. We are going to get touched. It's like Naomi Raymond says, the expectation that we can be immersed in other people's suffering and loss daily and not be touched by it. It's unrealistic. It's like expecting to walk through rain without getting wet. So we are going to be touched. We are going to be influenced. And what we need to start learning to do is how to recharge our batteries, how to take care of ourselves. Because if we're honest, we are really bad at it. We are really bad at it. And we think that sitting on a couch watching Netflix, or just sitting on the couch and taking a break is recharging, where that is not a recharge, people. We need to learn to be mindful example of recharging. I had a client here, a medical doctor, last week that kept saying she needs to take a whole year off. She needs a year off. She is so exhausted. She is so fatigued. She's got arthritis in her wrists from all the surgery, and she needs a year off. Okay. And then I had another client who is a family lawyer who's constantly listening to families abusing their children. And she did take a year off. She was burnt out and she took a year off last year. And this year, she started on the 15th of January. Well, it's nearly the 15th of March. She's been at work for 2 months and she's more tired than ever before. So I have a secret to tell you today. Just resting is not enough. Of course, resting is important, but we need to do more than just resting. We need to take care of our bodies. We need to take care of the cells within our bodies. We need to take care of our souls. Because if we don't, we can't go the long haul, as Dr. Zubaydah said. Then we cannot drive far. We cannot keep pulling this heavy load. And research shows us that we will get sick. We cannot keep pulling these heavy loads. So today I want to show you a little bit of a talk by Dr. Gabor Mate, M-A-T-E. Dr. Gabor is an internal physician. So he is a medical doctor that works with any internal illnesses. And he has written a lot of books that I find absolutely fascinating. I just want you to listen to him for 5 minutes, and then I want us to just have a quick chat about what he says. Have a listen to this. Can you all just quickly tell me, can you hear the sound just before I carry on?
No.
No, we can't hear.
No sound. No, I can't hear.
Okay, people, something happened when I shared my screen. Can you just give me a second? I want to get the sound on. Normally, when I say share screen, there's an icon that says share sound, and I cannot see it right now. So give me a second. I don't know why this update has. If you can all just give me 1 second. Everyone, I'm just trying to find out how this works. Give me a sec.
And its connection to lung cancer. But other than that, we think that these diseases are either mysterious.
Sound is back. Thank you, Jackie.
Awesome. Okay. So just take into consideration, this is an internal physician. So he's talking about big illnesses. But I want you to listen about what he says about self-care. So this is what he's talking about, right? Self-care for caregivers. When the body says no, caring for ourselves whilst we are caring for others.
The book and this talk is based on my work as a family physician, which I did for 20 years. And 7 of those years, I was also medical coordinator of the palliative care unit at Vancouver Hospital, looking after terminally ill people dying of cancer, neurological diseases, and so on. And what I found in all those years, learned all those years, what I had not been taught in medical school, is that who gets sick and who doesn't is not accidental. That although we tend to think on cancer and multiple sclerosis, which I mentioned last night, or rheumatoid arthritis, or chronic asthma, psoriasis, eczema, colitis, Crohn's disease, any number of chronic illnesses is somehow random events that unfortunately and mysteriously strike a person. And occasionally we think that we can explain the cause by the life style of the individual, like smoking, of course, and its connection to lung cancer. But other than that, we think that these diseases are either mysterious and unexplainable misfortunes, or they are caused by people's genes. And what I found that quite on the contrary, that who got sick and who didn't wasn't random, and that there were certain identifiable patterns, certain personality traits and ways of behaving that people unwittingly, without knowing it, unintentionally, but they brought the disease on themselves. And that wasn't their fault. They didn't know what they were doing, as you will see. But since we're talking about caregivers, and let me tell you one little fact that, and since the book was published, which is about 10 years ago now, I think, or 9 years ago, there's been so much more evidence tending in the same direction. Now, one bit of evidence about caregivers is that there's a structure at the end of our DNA, our chromosomes. Chromosomes is the strands where our DNA is located in our cells, in the nucleus of our cells. And these strands of chromosomes have at the end a structure called a telomere. A telomere is like the glue at the end of my shoelace to keep the strands from fraying, to keep it together. When we're born, our telomeres are a certain length. And as we get older, gradually, they shorten as we age, and until at the end of our life, they become unraveled, at which point so do we. Now, they looked at but it's a mark of aging, in other words. Now, they looked at the telomeres of mothers looking after chronically ill children. And they found that these women in their 30s and their 40s, their telomeres were 10 years shorter than their chronological age would have predicted. In other words, the chronic stress of caregiving aged them by 10 years. Now, that doesn't mean, of course, that we shouldn't care for children or for other people that require our support. But it does mean that how we give care and what kind of support we get makes a huge difference to our health. And that's what my topic is about this morning. So I said that there were certain patterns of being and behavior and psychological relating that are associated with chronic illness. And again, when I say chronic illness, I mean everything, virtually everything. What these patterns were that I saw, I'll identify, or at least I'll illustrate for you by means of newspaper clippings that I'll read for you. As I give this talk, by the way, my advice is that you relate it to yourself. That you don't just see it as an academic exercise or as a storytelling, but just see to what extent you recognize these patterns in yourself. So the first clipping here is by a woman who writes the article herself. These are all from the Globe and Mail. And she's diagnosed with breast cancer. Her name is Donna. So she's diagnosed with breast cancer. And her doctor's name is Harold. Her husband's name is Hai. And Donna is the second wife. The first wife died of breast cancer. Now Donna, the second wife, is diagnosed with it. And so Donna writes, Harold tells me that the lump is small and most assuredly not in my lymph nodes, unlike that of Hai's first wife, whose cancer had spread everywhere by the time they found it. You're not going to die, he reassures me. But I'm worried about Hai, I say. I won't have the strength to support him. And what do you notice? Her first and automatic thought is, how can I support my husband emotionally as I'm dealing with a potentially fatal illness? So this compulsive and automatic concern for the needs of others while ignoring your own is a major risk factor for chronic illness.
So what Dr. Gabor Mate is saying is that people who work with caregivers and healthcare practitioners have what he calls a compulsive need to take care of others. And what then happens is we are overgiving of ourselves to others and our bodies get ill. How do you know if you are always overgiving? Well, you're always the first to offer help. You are constantly helping somebody else who might never help you in return. You're always putting other people's needs before yours. You are constantly on a help and in a helping mode. I want us to do a little poll, right? Let's see if we can get that right. I hope you can see this poll in front of you. I'm asking you to tick if this is you, all right? You can tick on more than one. Just give a tick if you feel it's your duty to take care of everybody. Tick if you feel you have to be available for others. Tick when you think, people need me, right? People need me. Tick on, I feel responsible for making others feel better. And then tick if you think, I care more for others than for myself. So this is anonymous. We don't know who's ticking where. Thank you to the 2 of you that have already ticked. Okay, 4 of you already in there. Let's see where it ends up. So tick for me on any of those if they are applicable to you. Let's see. So not everybody is voting yet. 6, come on, let's see. Vote for me, people. Let's see. I know a few of you are sitting together, so it's not going to be totally realistic because some of you are actually sitting together with others. But let's just see where it ends up. So as it is now, all right, I'm not going to look at the percentage. I'm just going to look at which one ranks most. As it is now, each and every one of those statements has been ticked by people, all right? So all of you feel that these are applicable. The one all of you, the one that ranks highest is that you feel responsible for making people feel better. So it is fair to say that caregivers feel it's their job to make other people feel better. It's their job to make people happier. That is a huge responsibility, especially working in a women's shelter, all right, or in shelters, because people who come to you are already vulnerable. So if you feel it's your responsibility to make them feel better, you're taking on a huge, huge amount of stress, right? For me, as a solution-focused practitioner, it's not my job to make anybody feel better, all right? I need all the energy I can get to just make myself feel okay, right? But I do think it's my job to help people think about how they can make themselves feel better, right? So my job is to ask good questions so that they can start thinking and owning their own lives, thinking about what they need, and not rely on me as the person to fix them or to help them feel better or be the one who shifts their lives. My job is just to ask these beautiful questions to make them think about their own lives differently, make them think about themselves differently, so that they can help themselves feel better. Nearly all of you said, 9 out of 13 people said, I care more for others than I care for myself. I really think that is the curse of the caregiver and the health we do that instinctively. It's nearly an instinctive default movement. We do it without thinking. So we need to learn to be counter-instinctive to ourselves. We need to learn to take care of ourselves, or you're going to hear in a moment, Dr. Mate says, if we don't learn how to care for ourselves, we are killing cells in our bodies, right? So we need to learn to care for ourselves so that we can save cells in our body. And then 7 out of 13 people said, I have to be available for others. Wow. If we're always available for other people, then we are empty and there's nothing left for us. And then a lot of you said, people need you and it is your duty to care for everybody. Sure, it is true that people need us and we are good at helping them. And sometimes it is our duty to care for people because we want to and we know how to, you know, and it's in our passion and in our DNA to care and help people out. That's in our makeup. However, we need to balance the care and need for other people with care and need for ourselves. If we at least balance it, or maybe not balance it, if we have 2/3 goes to others and 1/3 to myself, then at least we are saving cells in our body and caring for ourselves. Sure, we might not be able to pour some of our family energy into our own energy. But if we can just do a little bit of family energy and a little bit of work energy, then at least our own cup, the self cup, is starting to fill up a little bit more. So we need to start taking a little bit of our energy and empathy from our clients, tiny bit of energy and empathy from our families, and pour it back into ourselves. Or we run the risk of becoming ill. Okay, let me just see, how do I do that? Next one, there. So a lot of us, because we are compulsive carers to others, a lot of us feel that it is our duty. We feel that this is our role in life. This is part of our identity. And we feel a huge amount of responsibility for others. And then what happens? is we start caring for others a lot more than we care for ourselves. And then our jobs and our roles is more important than ourselves. And that's when we burn out. That's when we stop existing. We stop being. And all we do is give out, give more of ourselves, and we end up becoming only pleasers rather than real empowerers. We only please our clients and our families instead of empowering them to take charge of their own lives, to see to see themselves as strong and resilient, because they then only become dependent and victims. So pleasing and over responsibility for others can unfortunately hurt you.
The suppressed local illness with either woman in his life. Sidney kept eating 2 dinners a day for years until gradual weight gain beat anybody. And dinner with them most of the time. Nor could he say to his wife, you know, Rosalind, I'm very close with my mom. She needs my support. So once or twice a week, I'm going to have dinner with her. He just tried to please everybody all the time. And this need to please everybody all the time, it'll kill you. And for reasons I will tell you. And these reasons are not psychological. They're physiological. They have to do with the body, the immune system, and everything else. You can't separate the mind from the body. And the problem with my profession, the medical profession, is that we make two separations that are actually, in life, impossible to make. One is that we separate the mind from the body. We think that people's emotional lives are somehow separate from their physiology. Completely false assumption, unscientific, refuted by all the research, and yet if you go to a doctor, I mean, I know some of you here have had autoimmune illnesses, for example. So ask yourself, when you've been to the physician with your rheumatoid arthritis, your joint being inflamed, or some other rheumatic condition, did anybody ever ask you about your childhood? Anybody ever ask you about your stresses in your life? Anybody ever ask you about your marriage? About how you relate to your work? About how you look after yourself or how you don't? Likely not. Likely what they did is they said, you got this illness, we don't know why you got it, and here are the pills. So they'll give you a medication to suppress the inflammation, or they'll give you a medication because autoimmune disease, the immune system attacks the body itself, so we give you a medication to suppress the immune system itself. Or
so what he is saying is that over caring, over giving is not good for us, because the body and the mind is connected. And later on he says, only the good die young. And he says that is true, because the good are the ones always giving, 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 pleasing, 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 and their bodies can't take it anymore. So Dr. Mate is saying, if we want to keep caring for others, if we want to keep empowering people, we need to take care of ourselves as well. For some of us, it is very difficult to say we need to take care of ourselves first. For me personally, that is nearly impossible. I do not know how to take care of myself first. That statement doesn't work for Jackie. But the statement that does work for Jackie is, I need to take care of myself as well. I need to remember that I too need caring. I need to be aware that I too have to rest, relax, eat well, move my body around. I am currently 57 years old, And I have 3 girlfriends that went to school with me. And we are still, the 4 of us are still very, very close. We are all turning 57 this year. And of the 4 of us, I am the only one of the 4 that has not had breast cancer. So all 3, my other friends, have had breast cancer, have had a breast removed, have been through chemo where their bodies were attacking themselves. Now, after listening to Gabor Mate, after thinking really hard about what self-care looks like, I have started realizing that I better take care of myself and my cells in my body before I too get a serious illness. So for me, I keep thinking, how do I save cells in my body so that I can be at my son's weddings, so that I can turn 70 one day, so that I can too become a grandmother, for example? What small thing do I need to do today to save a cell? Because research shows if I keep going like I'm going, if I have no good reason to look after myself, I am going to get ill. So for me personally, taking care of myself first doesn't work. But having a good reason to look after myself so that my body can keep going and so that I can be at my child's wedding helps me think, okay, I need to find a good reason to take care of myself. I need to find a good reason to save a cell or 2. I need to find good reason to look after my body and myself, because one cannot separate your mind and your body. And what your mind is thinking, what you're feeling, all the energy you're giving out is going to affect your body. So we need a good reason to take care of ourselves. We need a good reason to save cells in our bodies. So before I carry on, I am going to just stop the screen share for a second here. There we go. And I want to ask each one of you, all right, I want you to really think very carefully. And I want you to think, what is your good reason for saving cells in your body, for taking care of yourself, when your natural instinct is to take care of others? What is your good reason to stop and remember that you too need self-care? And I really want each one of you to answer that, because it forces us to think that we exist, that we too need to take care of ourselves. So, what's your good reason? Let's see, who's going to answer me? Sarah, what's your good reason for taking care of yourself? No. Yeah. No. Melanie, what is your good reason for taking care of yourself?
Hi, Dr. Jackie. How are you?
I'm fine. Talk to me.
I know it's kind of contradictory to most of what you've just said, but in one of the chats I put there, something that Dr. Zubaida spoke about in one of our presentations a while ago was keeping our cups full, which we all neglect to do. And that's something that you've touched on as well with regards to the cups and using that as an example. My daughter is quite ill. She's got epilepsy. So that does take a lot of strain on me and the family. Sleepless nights, you never know if she's having it or not, because she has silent seizures. So we're always constantly checking up on her and things like that. So if I'm not taking care of myself and if I fall ill, which I have been also recently, I find that I don't have the energy then to look after her and take care of her.
Exactly.
So it doesn't help if I'm flat out and then I don't have that to be able to be there for her when she actually does need me. So that would be my motivation to start looking
Ex-
after myself.
Exactly. And that is exactly what we need. We need a good reason to look after ourselves. Otherwise, we forget. Otherwise, we just don't. And Melanie, you have a very good reason to look after yourself because you know your child needs you. You know that you need to still be there for her, right? So, your good reason to stop, slow down, take a break is for your child. And that is good reason to be mindful of what we need to do when we are overwhelmed or stuck. Cora is saying her good reason is to be healthy when she retires because we all work and work and work and work, and one day we're going to retire. One day we're going to be okay. One day we're going to be able to read our books. However, if we don't save cells now, if we don't take care of ourselves now, our retirement's going to look very different to what we envision. So you've got to find that good reason for yourself that forces you to stop and say, whoa, I need to take it slower, or I need a 5-minute rest, or I need to go walk around the block because my neck and my shoulders are so stiff, or I want to be able to have a retirement where I can walk along the beach. So I better get up right now and go and walk around the block to give my body a little bit of muscle. All right. So we need that good reason to take care of ourselves. CD is saying, my good reason would be to remain mentally as healthy mentally as possible so that I can take care of others. If I don't take care of myself, I lose interest in what I love. And then we look like zombies. And God knows how I love looking good. So, CD, exactly. Even if your good reason for looking after yourself is the way in which you look. And CD, I totally get that because yesterday I looked at myself in the mirror and I looked so old. These big rings under my eyes, and these big wrinkles. I looked old because I was so exhausted. And tomorrow I have to lecture in front of 52 people. No, I'm sorry, Thursday. Tomorrow is a webinar. Thursday is 52 people. I better look after myself so that I don't look like an old hag when I stand in front of people. So find your good reason to look after yourself, because your good reason will then be a non-negotiable in taking care of yourself, in looking after yourself. For Zonke, it is that she knows that her family needs her. All right. She knows her family needs her. And that makes her keep going. I know my sons need me. My sons are not grown-ups yet, so I better keep going. And if I want to keep going, and if Gabor Mate is right, and our cells we're killing cells with overgiving and overcaring, then I better learn to do my job differently because my family needs me. This is serious, people. Our health is a serious consideration. What we look like is a serious consideration. What our children need, like Melanie's child, her needs are serious. And therefore, we need to find our good reasons for self-care, our good reasons to give ourselves a little bit of energy and self-care so that we can get up in the morning, do our jobs, look after other people. Anybody else? I hear somebody's unmuted, but I can't find who. Anybody else going to share their good reason? Somebody is. Sarah, do you want to share? No. Okay. Let's go back. Sharing screen. So we have to remember that we cannot separate the mind and the body. And the stress we are feeling, the exhaustion we feel, the overwhelmness we feel affects our bodies. And there is a body-brain connection. So we need to find good reasons to de-stress. We need to find good reasons to take care of ourselves, or our bodies take a knock. Okay, let me just put it here where he tells us about the body. Give me a second. Sorry, people, it goes to the beginning.
And as traditional medicine is always, but that's what we come to believe, and that's what we behave then, and that's what creates these patterns. So there's nobody here to be blamed here. Nobody here to be blamed. It's just how it works. Now, why do these patterns translate into illness? That's because, as traditional medicine has always understood, and as Western science has now confirmed, mind and body are inseparable. So if you look at the important systems in the body and the brain, they're completely connected. So that the emotional centers in the brain are connected to the immune system and the hormonal apparatus and the nervous system. Now, the emotional centers in your brain have one major role to play: to keep you alive. Now, what is the biggest need of the newborn, emotionally speaking, and even physically speaking? Is attachment to the adults. Without that attachment, we don't survive. You can see that. This is true, of course, of baby birds and baby mammals, but especially of human beings, because we're the most underdeveloped and the least mature and the most helpless for the longest period of time of any creature on Earth. And I'll say much more about that.
So what he is saying is that the mind-body connection is crucial and inevitable. How you think and feel is going to affect your body. And he's saying we learn patterns of behavior from a very young age. We learn patterns of being. Like, for example, we learn patterns of, I am always the one who fixes things in my family, or I am always the one who takes care of everybody. And these patterns then become like ingrained parts of who we are. And if we then add to those patterns our jobs as carer, then it's not just a family pattern. Then it becomes a job pattern. And then it becomes a life pattern. And because the body and the mind is connected, if we're not careful of these patterns, and if we're not careful of the pattern of overgiving, overcaring, taking responsibility for everything, our bodies start suffering at some point, and we start killing healthy cells in our body. And he is saying we need to find a good reason to shift the pattern and start taking care of ourselves as well. So the only way you'll start shifting the pattern of overgiving, overcaring, over responsibility is if you have good reason to care for yourself as well, to balance out a little bit of the energy so that, yes, work takes a lot and all your clients at the shelter get your love, get your support, get your input, but some of it goes into self, so that for Melanie, for example, she can go home at night and give a bit to her family. Sometimes some of us need to take a bit of our family energy, give it back to ourselves. Like, for example, in my case, my younger brother is always a victim, is always without money, is always needing help. So a lot of my energy is constantly going to him, but I need to have a good reason to stop sometimes, not answer the phone when he phones, because I always answer it all the time. But sometimes I can just, for one second, not answer the phone, take a little bit of that energy for myself, and maybe give it to my God. So we really have to have good reason to stop that instinctive overgiving, or else we end up just doing it again and again and again. Okay, people. Before I carry on with some practical ideas and practical ways of taking care of yourselves, I want to, just before I break for tea, because we've been, let me just check here, we've been going now for nearly an hour and a half, so it's a good tea break coming up, just a few minutes. And before I do that, I want to see all of you tell me, what did you get? How do I do this now? There. No. What have you heard in the last hour, right? That has been hour and a half, that has really been helpful to you? What have you heard that has been good, that has been helpful, and that has made you think a little bit differently about self-care? I want to hear from all of you. Not just one or two. Let's hear from all of you. What have you heard that has been a bit of a mind shift, or maybe an interesting fact, or maybe has made you think about self-care? Let's hear from all of you. In the chat box, or unmute yourself. Leisha, Melanie, Cora, Zonke. What have you got that has helped?
Sorry.
Melanie?
Yeah, so for me, what I've taken in is that you don't actually have to stop helping others in order to help yourself. I think that is crucial, that you can still help others, but you need to take that time still to see to yourself that it's, it's a balance that you need to make. So for me, that was an eye-opener.
Yeah, and Melanie, it's like you don't need to take a sabbatical to feed your soul, all right? You don't need complete and utter month rest in order to fill your cup. In today's time, we have to work, So for me, it's about how do I take care of myself while I also do my job? What small little drops of water can I steal from other places to give to myself? Or what can I do on a daily basis that just takes care of me too, while I'm working and taking care of others? What else have you taken from this? What have you noticed? Thank you for that, Melanie. What stands out? Anybody else?
Morning, Dr. Jackie.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for insightful, as always, information.
Pleasure,
What I
Leisha.
have been absorbing is that I need to prioritize. I need to know what comes first, why it comes first, and then A will flow into B.
Yeah.
Something else I thought I was doing quite well, but realized that I'm not, is the self-care aspect. I'm not one for TV or television, but for me, if I sit an hour on a couch watching Netflix, I thought I'm done. I've self-cared. I'm ready to move on. So I've learned that what I'm doing is not appropriate or effective. And I now need to look at other avenues of self-care.
Leisha,
Same like,
yeah, can I just stop you there? Because
yes.
maybe I said it a bit wrong. If sitting on a couch watching Netflix relaxes one, great. But what I think we need to start doing is we need to say to ourselves, this hour of Netflix is self-care. We need to make it a mindful activity of self-care and not just, okay, well, now I'm going to veg on the couch. We need to train our brains that is a self-care activity. I am now actively going to put myself on the couch as self-care. I am going to watch an hour of Grey's Anatomy as self-care, and then we are training our brains that this is for me. I think it needs to become a mindful activity.
Yes. Okay. And it wasn't mindful.
Yeah.
It really wasn't. I just thought that hour is done and dusted, ready to move on. Yes. So mindfulness.
For
And
me,
then
yeah, please go on.
all right. And then similar to Melanie, I realized that if I'm not only mentally, but physically strong, I'm not able to take care of those that I love. So I have an autoimmune disease. In fact, I've got so many, but one of them is where physically my body is deteriorating and stress adds to that. And I find that if I don't take time out for myself, go through my routine and follow my medication appropriately, exercise as best as I can, I am going to end up in that wheelchair faster than I plan to. Well, not plan to, but faster than the diagnosis will lead me to. So I think that was a big wake up call that yes, fair and well, Leisha, you're always there for your family and those around you. But what do you need to do to sustain yourself, to be able to look after them longer? So that was a big one for me.
Leisha, I so resonate with what you say because we look after people. That's what we're good at, right? That is our instinct. And yet, we all know, if we are truthful with ourselves, that our stress level affects our bodies, right? We know that. We all know that. And yet, we neglect that so easily. So for me, it's it's really got to become a mindful, non-negotiable, because otherwise you can't look after your family.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you, thank you. Dr. Zubaydah said what she got out of this morning is that she must learn to save herself. Zubaydah, I can't tell you how many times I personally will just take a 10-minute break, or sometimes I'll just say no to something. No, sorry, I can't do it. And right after I've said no, in my case, I rub my breasts, especially because all my friends have had breast cancer. And then I say, I'm just quickly saving a cell or two. A mindful physical activity where I am taking care of myself, because I have to learn to do it, because it's not an instinct. Cora said, I need to start learning to delegate and give responsibilities back to the rest of my family and not do everything myself at home. Absolutely. Absolutely. We need to teach our family members to stand on their own feet. We need to empower our family members by teaching them to do things for themselves. It is good for them and good for us. I'm going to give you a quick example. I'm embarrassed to admit that last year I did not do cooking in our house. I did not make any food because I was just too busy. I was writing the book. I just had too much going on. So my husband made a rule that my boys need to cook one meal a week. They need to take turn and make food. And for the whole of last year, I felt so guilty. I am the mother. I should be cooking. And now once a week, well, in my case, twice a week, because I have two boys, my children are making me food. What a bad mommy I am. And then this year, my child goes off to Cape Town to study. And within one day, he now suddenly has to make his own dinner, own lunch, own breakfast. And guess what? He knows how to do it. He's been making dinner once a week. He knows how to make a curry. He knows how to boil an egg. He knows how to do it. So the activity of sharing and delegating has empowered him to do things on his own. And wow, why didn't I do that long ago? CD is saying it's been an eye-opener that we cannot separate mind and body. We try hard to separate the two, but because they're so codependent. But when the one shuts down, the other one follows and does so too. A thing that stood out for me is that we need to have a good reason for the things we do, because we forget why we do what we are doing, because we are at the go and on the go, and we have lost the good reasons along the way. I need to learn what balance looks like for me and strive for it. Exactly. What does balance look like for you, Chidi? Because it's going to look different to me. And I can tell you, exercise, eat well, meditate, do yoga, because that's what all the self-help book says about self-care. But is that going to work for you? What do you need to do that is going to give you good reason to keep doing it? Find what works for you. But we're going to look at some more after tea. Right now, it is, let me just see what the time is. It's 1:45. Can we please get back here at 11 o'clock? Just take a quick 15-minute tea break, 15-minute toilet break, and then I'm going to start again at 11 o'clock.
Thank you, Dr. Jackie.
Oh, I'm still there. Sorry, people. I thought I closed my Zoom meeting accidentally. Are you still there?
Yes.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay, everybody. I'll see you at 11 o'clock.
Thanks, Dr. Jackie.
There we go, everybody. Welcome back. Hope you've got a cup of tea as part of our self-care. And let's get back to looking after ourselves and what that means. Something that has really been part of my thinking in the last few weeks is that self-care, rest, a sabbatical, time out, looking after ourselves needs to become a daily mindful activity. We need to constantly, daily ask ourselves, what have I done to take care of myself today? Or what did self-care look like today? Or what small thing did I add to my day that was good for me, that was good for my body, was good for my cells, was good for my energy level? What did I do today to save a little bit of this energy and give it to myself? What small thing? And Leisha, if it means on the couch and Netflix, that's fine, as long as you're saying to yourself, Netflix means self-care, or sitting on the couch and watching a soapy is self-care, because otherwise it just becomes part of your daily activity, and then there's another hour that's gone that you didn't do anything for yourself. You need to start becoming mindful of what does self-care look like for me? What does self-care entail? What does me time really, really look like? And what works for me? Because as I said, we all need good reason to take care of ourselves. We need to have a long-term goal, a solution-focused, future focus that says, I am doing this now for good reason later in my life. I am saving a drop or two of my energy now for good reason, because I still want to be active when I retire. I am taking a little bit of this energy and giving it to myself today for good reason, because tonight I want to be able to be there for my children. So we've got to be mindful of where we give our energy, how much we give, and how much we take and keep for ourselves. So the rest of the workshop is all about things we need to start doing now. Things that can help us to retain some of our energy. Self-care that can help us to not stop doing our jobs, but to stop the overgiving, to stop the compulsion of overgiving and denying ourselves. And people say there are things like, don't be afraid to say no, right? I think caregivers and mental health practitioners, not everybody, but I'd say most, don't know how to say no. And the reason for that is because we think it's our duty. We think it's up to us. We've learned a pattern of behavior that says we will do it, and we never say no. And I'm really working hard lately on saying no to small things. Like, for example, when I finish a Zoom session, this happened to me yesterday. I just finished a Zoom session, which I have here in my house. And then I have to walk to my private practice, which is it's up at the top of our property. As I walk past my husband, who is the operations director, trying to do all our admin, I'm now running out of my house office with my diary, look how full it is, to see a client in the private practice. As I walk past Geza, he shouts at me and says, just can you stop a second? I just have to ask you a few questions about how many people are coming to Stellenbosch on Thursday. Now, of course, he has to do that. He has to do his work. I have to do my work. But not now, not while I'm still out of one session into another session. In the past, I would stop and talk to him and over multitask. Now I'm taking care of myself. I'm saving cells. I say, no, not now. I'll sort all of this out with you when I get back from this client. And then as I walk to my client, I rub my body because I just saved some energy. I just saved some cells. We also need to notice when we are giving too much. And you know, the body holds the score. So your body is going to start telling you when you are giving too much. Your headaches, your shoulders, your pains and aches will tell you. And then something we all need to learn to do is we need to start asking for help. Somehow, this is very, very difficult for caregivers. We need to ask our children for help. We need to ask our husbands for help. We need to ask our colleagues for help. We need to learn that we don't have to do everything alone. And we need to be a little bit selfish sometimes. Like, for example, take that half an hour for yourself. Bath 10 minutes longer. Go for that walk. Drive slower. Be a little bit more selfish. Why? Because you have good reason to take care of your body and save yourselves. Have a listen here to what Gabor Mate says about saying no.
It's obvious that when you suppress the one, you're suppressing the other. And that's why people that suppress anger, they have diminished activity of their immune system, as has been shown in studies. Or what happens is that the immune system gets so confused because our emotions are confused that it turns against our cells. And that's when you get autoimmune disease, when the immune system actually attacks the body itself. Fundamentally what happens is, one way or the other, if you don't know how to say no when you need to, your body will say it for you in the form of illness. So chronic illness represents the body saying no when you didn't do it. Not your fault. This is how you were programmed before you had any choice in the matter. So again, it's not a question of blame or self-blame, but it does mean that to prevent illness, or if you have an illness, to deal with it more effectively, you need to learn to assert who you are and to say no. Now that might be difficult.
We need to learn to say no because we are programmed to give. We are programmed to give. We are we are programmed with a little voice saying, do your duty, do your duty, give to others. And this happens to nearly all caregivers and healthcare practitioners, because it's part not only of our programming from childhood, it's part of our giving nature as people. So we really, really need to learn to say no. Just no. And I don't know how many of you know that no is a full sentence. You don't have to make an excuse. You don't have to give an excuse. You just have to learn to say no more. No, I can't do this right now. I'll get to you later. No, I'm not going to eat that chocolate, Jackie. Just say no to yourself. I need to look after my health. No is a full sentence that helps you take care of yourself. In one of Gabor Mate's, you must look on the internet. He's got a lot of fabulous talks for free. He says that we have to listen to the no's that show up in our lives. Every time we feel like saying no, we got to listen, because our capacity is telling us something. It's either saying, no, I don't have the energy for this, or no, I don't agree with this, or no, I'm being abused or used. We have to learn to listen to the no's, and we have to learn to assert ourselves to say no. All right. So that we can look after our bodies better.
But it's the same story over again. So Gilda Radner provide care to other people. I mean, caring for others and being kind, that's wired into us as human beings. That's the true expression of who we are. But going along with that, there's to be self-care. That means that you must demand support. If you're caring for others, you must demand support when you need it. You must be able to have a break. You must be able to ask for help when you need it. You must be able to express how you feel. You must take time for yourself. There must be times in your life which is just for you. So that we have to find ways, amidst the role of caregivers, to actually care for the person here. Because if we don't, the result is burnout and illness. So again, it's not a question of being selfish and unconcerned. That's not so good either for your health. But it's a question of being as kind to yourself as you are wanting to be to others.
I love what he has to say there. He says that caregivers are wired to be kind. People who work with other people that are in trouble, we are wired to be kind. But we have to learn to give the same amount of kindness we give others to ourselves. All right? We have to learn to do kindness back to ourselves. And now you've got to ask yourself, what does being kind to myself look like? Okay. Or maybe you need to ask yourself this question. And I know it says company there. I couldn't find another slide. But what do you think you need to do, or you need to get better at, to show kindness to yourself? What do you need to get better at to show kindness, self-care, balance to yourself? Because there's some skill that we sometimes miss. And that's why we burn out. We are missing a self-care skill. So what is it we need to get better at? All right. Maybe it's something like we need to start recognizing those red flags. We need to start recognizing those red flags, those small little things that start telling us we've been pushed too far. Maybe we should start recognizing the red flags sooner, because once our body starts telling us, once the body starts saying no, we've already ignored thousands of red flags. So maybe we need to learn to recognize red flags sooner, before it becomes an illness or a total burnout. Tell me a little bit in the chat box, or unmute yourself. What are small red flag signs in your lives that tells you, shoo, I'm getting overwhelmed here, I'm getting exhausted, I'm pushing too much, I'm not taking care of myself? What are small red signs for you? While you think, I'll start with myself. Red flag for me is when my shoulders start locking up. I get these incredible shoulder stiffness, which sometimes I can't even reverse my car because I can't turn. So my shoulders locking up is a big, big red flag for me. What are red flags for you? Let's hear. Melanie, you're on my... Melanie, Leisha, Sarah, you closest. Melanie, what's a red flag for you?
I get those same knots in my shoulders, which then obviously causes to tension migraines. That's my first sign. And then obviously the next would be the fatigue that comes with it.
Our bodies, Melanie, are amazing, and they actually give us warning signs, right? It goes, in your case, Melanie, it goes shoulders, headache, and then complete and utter shutdown fatigue, right? And we need to start learning to listen to those red flags quicker. Alicia, red flags for you, if you're willing to share.
All right, for me, nerves start kicking in. When I say that, I mean instantly I start dropping things. I'm not able to hold on things. I tremble. It goes all the way to my spine, and then literally the body starts to slow down. Also stuttering. Once I can't collect my thoughts, I start to stutter. Yeah, and trembling.
So for you, Leisha, it's any form of trembling. It could be, hands trembling, you lose things, you drop things. Voice trembling, you stutter. Anytime your body starts with a little tremble or tremor or shake, it is starting to tell you you're pushing yourself too far. Stop. Stop. A self-care activity in mindfulness is needed. We need to take kindness internal. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else willing to share? What are red flag signs for you?
Is to feel, I feel tired, like when I thinking about, when I listening my tiredness, then I collapse. And then I ended up in the hospital. Then when I wake up, I've been diagnosed by a heart failure and a diabetic with immediate effect. I mean, chronic now.
Yeah. So, Sarah, your deep fatigue, that deep tired, right, is your red flags that my body is taking strain here. My body is saying the next step is going to be more serious. I have to listen to the tired. I have to do something different to get some water back for me. Because if I keep giving and giving and giving, I am not going to, it's going to go, the knock-on effect for my body is going to end up in hospital. For Cora, it's knots in the tummy and migraine. It's when your tummy starts becoming restricted and your tummy is starting to pull and knot. Then it's telling you, those knots are telling you, I do not want to do this anymore. I cannot carry on like this anymore. And we need to then stop and listen to our bodies. And that's when the body is saying, do something different. And not all of us can then take a whole day off or go and lie on a beach and rest. That doesn't work for all of us. But we can, in that moment, stop and ask ourselves a self-care question. We can ask ourselves a question like, what small thing can I do right now to save cells, to unknot? Maybe it's a small breathing activity. Maybe it is a walk outside. Maybe it is a mindful cup of tea. Maybe it's just 3 minutes alone to just touch your tummy and say, I know you feel knotted, but you are a beautiful tummy. You work well for me. Just to nurture your tummy, yourself a little bit. Apile says, cramps on one side of her body, insomnia and headaches. Well, those cramps on the one side of the body is saying, I'm giving too much on the other side. And maybe one side means I'm giving too much to others, and the other side needs a bit of nurturing for self. It seems as though a lot of you are, there are commonalities here. If I look at it, a lot of you get headaches. A lot of you get warning by not sleeping. And a lot of you get tight shoulders. These are red flags. These are things that saying, I'm giving more than I can give. I am sharing more than I receive. And Teddy is right. Another red flag. Teddy, I get this too. I get exhausted when people start talking to me. It's like I cannot hear what they're saying. It's just my cup is overflowing. I cannot hear. Even if they're with me, it's like your brain cannot function. Teddy, I get that too. It's like my ears are saying, I can't take more in. I just can't take more in. And we need to listen, because actually our bodies are amazing and beautiful, and they are warning us with all these beautiful red flags. They are saying to us, stop. Just stop. Whoa, just stop. We need you. Your body is saying, I need you to do something different. I need you to stop, and I need you to do something different and to save cells. I need this to stop so that we can save cells, and we can do more tomorrow and the next day, and we can even do more next year, and we can actually keep functioning. And in that moment of red flag, when we say stop, we have to find a green flag. We have to find something that, whoa, I need to do something different now. I need to be mindful that I exist. Because a lot of us, we exist because others need us. We need to stop and find the reasons, the good reasons that we exist, that all the good reasons we need to take care of ourselves so that we can do our passion, do our calling, and work with others. So we need to find green flags, small little things that give you a break, small little things that feed you, small little things that is a doing differently of constantly giving to others. So for some of you, it might be something like being more spontaneous, or it might be something like walking outside for a moment. For others, it might be meditation or mindfulness, being mindful that this cup of tea is self-care while I lecture, or mindful that Netflix is my time to give my thinking brain a rest. It could be breathing, just breathing out, because a lot of us breathe in, but we don't breathe out. It could be adult coloring books. It could be exercise or a stretch or two. It could be different things for different people. So let's find out today a little bit from all of you. What are small things that you do? Maybe you haven't done it in a while, but what are the small things you do that cut stress a little bit? And what are the small things you do that are a green flag, that feed you rather than depletes you? So I want other people to talk to me a bit, if you're willing. Yeah, anybody? Zonki, talk to me. Mama Micheline, talk to me. Silingule, what small things do you do, right? Gladys, what do you do that is a green flag or a small sign of self-care? So you can all type as well, but I'd love to hear other voices as well. And the person that's at Gary Sheekum's laptop, even if it is Gary, what do you do that is those small things that work for you? Anybody gonna talk?
Hi guys.
Hi, let's see who's talking.
This is City talking.
Didi!
Yes, I've been typing quite a lot in the chat box.
Yeah,
So
I'm glad to hear your voice.
what I do for me is that I love me some ice cream. So if I get myself some ice cream and a good book to read, I love reading different kinds of book. Like right now, I am reading this other book called The Four Agreements. I'm trying to read that, and then I'm reading it alongside The Alchemist. So if I have a good cup of ice cream laying on my couch, like I don't want anyone to call me, I don't want anyone to knock on my door, or I just don't want anyone near me. Good ice cream and a good book, and then yeah, I'm good to go.
Didi, now that works for you, right? For you, that moment, it could be 5 minutes, it could be 10 minutes, it could be half an hour, where you have a nice little ice cream and you are reading things that make sense and that are important for you. So something we need to also remember is you are allowed to do that. So you can say no when your phone rings in those 15 minutes. You do not have to answer your phone. You can say no when somebody knocks on the door, for example, because that that moment of sabbatical, that moment of rest, that moment of self-care is yours. It is good for you, and it's going to mean in the long run, you can help more later. Melanie is saying she plays with her dog. Absolutely. I get that one too. That moment that you are with that animal that gives so much of itself, that just wants to give you love, is your mindful moment of green flag. That feeds your soul. That makes you smile. And Melanie's dog moment might not work for Tsidi, and Tsidi's ice cream moment might not work for Melanie, but find what works for you and embrace it and do it. Like, for example, Sulungule exercises and Apile goes to gym, right? Those moments of exercise, moments, what I've been working really hard on is seeing exercise as self-care and not as a chore. Because for me, exercise is a chore. For other people, like my son, and I think of Bilele, and I think um, Sulungulu, for you guys, it might be a self-care. But let's turn it into self-care because it's good for you and it gives you a moment away from overgiving. It is giving back to your body. It is giving your muscles in your body oxygen and blood flow. What it is good for you. Mama Micheline soaks herself in a bath with scented bath salt and slow music. Absolutely. And take that moment. Don't just get in the bath, wash, and get out. You are allowed to say to yourself, I'm going to bath for 5 minutes longer. I am going to just bath for 5 minutes longer and smell something good. That is good for me. That is my green flag. That is what works for me. Gladys just takes time to sit and relax. Just sit and relax, which again means no to a phone call, no to a child knocking on the doors, no to a husband asking questions, no to intrusive thoughts about what must I do now? Did I get that? No, this is my time to just sit down and relax. Just no. Leisha says, I need to stop. And then I need to rub my hands together to release the tension. If I can take 5 minutes, I'll run my hands under the water under a cold tap. So maybe you might not get 5 minutes, but try and take 2. Maybe you can't bath for half an hour, but maybe you can get 10. Maybe you can't read for an hour, but maybe you can do 5 pages. Maybe you can't play with your dog for 20 minutes, but maybe you can sit there for 3 minutes and just rub and play and smell your dog. Maybe you can't go to the gym for an hour, but you can walk around the block for 5 minutes. We need to stop making excuses for our own self-care, because I am a master at excuses for self-care, an absolute master at it. And self-care means we need to say no at all these excuses and take a little bit for ourselves. We need to do what Leisha says. Just stop. Slow it all down. Because if we slow it down, we can go fast again tomorrow. I've just been in Dubai, and Anne-Marie Wolf that I presented with, her motto in life is she has two things she keeps saying. The first is slow down to go fast. We need to slow down to go fast. We need to take moments in order to give moments. We need to save cells to live longer. We need to find green flags, small ones, in order to build more green flags. Slow down to go fast. And then the other saying she always uses is search for small signs. And what I mean in a self-care capacity is search for the small green flags. They don't have to be humongous and expensive and time consuming. You don't have to spend 800 Rand for a body massage that takes 2 hours out of your day. Maybe a small sign is just to stop and observe something beautiful. It was my birthday last Monday, a week ago, and a friend of mine brought me flowers and plants and leaves out of her garden. Nothing fancy, but just little planty leaves and things out of her garden. Quite a big bunch of these weird things in her garden. One of them actually looks like a weed with little balls on it. The other one is just lemon sali that just smells so beautiful. And just this big bunch. And this morning, just before this webinar, I started getting anxious and I thought, have I prepared enough? Am I going to say the right thing? And I do my own anxiety thing. And then I said, stop, practice what you preach. And I just stopped and I looked at this bunch of flowers and bushes and sticks and I just observed the small things, nature, the small little bolletjies on this weedy plant. Amazing what God has created. Incredible what grows in nature. I need to do more of that. I need to just be more observant about what makes me relax. Looking at plants and things around me is my green flag. What is yours? What works for you? What gives you breath? What gives you nurturance? What works for you? Because you can do loads of workshops that tell you to exercise, eat green things, sleep more. But we don't always know how to do that. So find what works for you. Maybe if you can't sleep, instead of worrying about not sleeping, listen to beautiful music that you love. Color in that moment. Get up and go and do a little coloring in activity. Find what works for you. And when you find it, when you find those green flags, do more of it. Because that is what you need to save cells. That is how you cut stress. That is how you do it. And then another thing that, as you all know, I hope you know, that with the help of Dr. Zubaydah, we are writing a book called Women's Perspectives in the Solution-Focused Approach. And Dr. Zubaydah wrote a beautiful, phenomenal chapter in our book. It is currently at the publisher and printers, and they have just finished. Dr. Zubaydah, I'm happy to tell you they have just finished all the language editing. On Saturday, Anne-Marie and I sat the whole day fixing all the queries they had. And now it's going into layout. So within 2 weeks, we've got the book laid out and it will be printed in May. And one of the participants, also a Jackie van der Velde, who lives in in Australia, uses scaling as a self-help tool, as a self-help coach. And Jackie writes that she scales like 4 times a day. All right. She's constantly asking herself the question that on a scale from 0 to 10, where 10 is energized and 0 is I'm burning out, where am I right now? And then she'll scale it, maybe at a 2, maybe at a 1, maybe at a 6. And then she'll ask herself, what small thing is possible and realistic to do right now that will help me move from a 3 to a 3.5? Remember, going to a 10 is not the goal. Small increments of change, small little self-care that fills our cup. Sometimes she asks herself, where am I right now? Let's say it's at a 0.5. And then she says, okay, so what can I let go of right now to just put me on a 0.7? What can I just let go of? So using scaling as a tool to become a self-help coach is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Because it tells you, where am I now? What is the small thing I can do to just move one thing up? Or what do I need to stop doing so that I don't slide all the way down into a 0, into burnout and hospital? So the scaling activity is a brilliant way to find ways to take care of yourself as a self-help tool to tell you what to do next, what you can do to be helpful in yourself and to save cells. So I want to take 10 minutes before we end to hear your opinions, to hear your voices, to hear what you have heard today about self-care that really, really stands out for you. Now, I know I asked you this question before tea, but we need to keep asking ourselves this question because we are good at neglecting self-care. So we need to repeat our self-care possibilities in order to follow up on them. So, what did you hear today, right, that was helpful to help you practically take care of yourself so that you can take care of others, right? What practical things did you hear today that you would like to do? Not what others would like to do, but that you would like to do. Let's hear. Who's going to share with me? Come on. I'm going to unmute you. Amanda. I saw an Amanda. No, it's good. Come on, people. Share with me. What are you going to do to take care of yourself? There's Amanda. Yay, Amanda's raised her hand. Amanda, can you unmute yourself? I can't unmute you. Oh, Amanda, do you know how to unmute yourself? Amanda, somewhere on your screen, there's a little microphone, and you have to click on that little microphone to unmute yourself. I don't know if you can see it anywhere. Not yet. Amanda,
Good day, colleagues. Hello, can you hear me? Oh. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Amanda.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you, colleagues?
Good afternoon.
I'm all right. I'm all right. Thanks. I'm so sorry. I just joined now, hey? So I just joined like, I think 5 minutes ago, but I wanted to apologize for not being able to join. It was a hectic one. I had, quite a busy day.
Amanda, thank you for joining us. And because it's all about self-care, I'm going to invite you to take a moment at some point this week and to listen to this recording for yourself.
Okay, I will. I will. Thank you
To
so
give
much.
yourself some information or ideas what to do that works for you when things get so hectic.
All right. Okay, no,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Amanda. Dr. Zubaydah, you wanted to say something?
Yes, Jackie. For me, two things. I think that somewhere in my head, when I think of doing something in terms of self-care, it always felt like it was a big thing. But I think the thing that came across today is that you talked about the small green flags. And so you can take a few minutes out of your busy schedule just so that you can survive the day, you can feel better and feel more energized. So I think that's one thing that I'll certainly take away.
Yeah.
And for me, the breathing works very well because I use a lot of breathing even with my own clients. So, I use breathing with imagining lovely scenes, like being on the beach. And, so if I do 5 minutes of that, I really feel quite energized. But the other thing that I think is really useful is using the scaling exercise, which I think is a self-help tool. And if we prepare to actually put it into practice, it can be a wonderful way to kind of, it's a kind of a body barometer. Where are you now?
Exactly.
And that's brilliant, because if you know that you're feeling stressed or your shoulders are tight, it means you need to do something to kind of release that. So I really like, those two suggestions.
Dr. Zubaydah, what you're saying is so brilliant. First, I just want to quickly repeat, and I think because we've been so exhausted in the last 4 years with the demands of our families, the demands of our clients, on the big neediness of society, on the anxiety and stress. I think we have gotten so tired that we think we need big things to care for ourselves. We need long rest. We need a big intervention. And then it gets so overwhelming. We start thinking, but I don't have time to go for a massage. I don't have 2 hours to go to the gym, or I can't now spend money on myself, that we then just let self-care go. And I have learned from my clients over the last few weeks that self-care comes in the small things. And we need to be mindful of those small things. And we need to do small things on a daily basis, because self-care isn't a massage once a month. That's not enough, people. It's daily, tiny little things, tiny moments of self-care, a moment where you breathe, a moment of mindful tea drinking, a small little rub of your shoulders, a tiny smelling something beautiful. These small things that we do daily add up to the cup filling up, because otherwise the cup never fills. And then Dr. Zubaydah also gave like breathing, just breathing, remembering to breathe in and out, breathing out, and just taking mindful moments to breathe. And then visualizations, incredible, just visualizing yourself in a place or a space that you want to be for a moment, or visualizing how your shoulders relax, visualizing how the tension lets go while you're rubbing your hands, also visualizing that you're putting warm oil into your hands that nurtures. Use your imagination, create double whammies where you're doing two things at once. You are rubbing your hands because your body needs that, and you are visualizing because it creates relaxation. So try and do two things at once. Breathing because your body needs oxygen, but also because you need to calm down all the systems. And then lastly, using scaling. Zubaydah, I loved what you said, as a body barometer. Jackie van der Velde writes that she uses scaling every morning of her life. She wakes up and scales her day. She uses it at morning, lunch, and at night. And you can use it for different things. You can use it as a body barometer, saying on a scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is my body is so stressed that I've got so many migraines that I have to vomit. And 10 is that my body is more relaxed and at ease. Doesn't have to be brilliant, but it's relaxed and at ease. Where am I right now? And what small thing can I do right now to take me from a 5 to a 5.2? Because a lot of small things during the day can take you from a 5 to maybe a 6. But to jump from a 5 to a 6 with one activity, we just don't have energy for that, or maybe not time for that. So lots of small things we can do. What else? Anybody else willing to share what stood out for them, what was helpful?
Since I realized that I started to prioritize, then today I've learned more about some techniques that I can do when I start to feel that I'm tired or I feel that I'm exhausted. At least I've got some lessons how to deal with that from now. And I hope that after this session, like I'm feeling now, that my health will start to improve more than before now.
Exactly.
And I'm happy and I appreciate also to be part of this topic or this part of session, because now I feel that I'm Sarah now and I'm starting to feel that I'll come back, even if it can be slowly, but I'll be there.
Sarah, thank you so much for sharing that. Small steps create big steps. Small change creates big change.
Yeah.
And then for Cora, she is saying what she's, oh no, wait, let's go first to Cherry, is saying, what I'm taking away is learning what balance looks like for me. Absolutely. You need to ask yourself, what does balance look like? Sarah, you need to ask yourself, what does rest look like for me? What does rest look like for each one of us? It doesn't help we do what everybody else does. We've got to find out, what does it look like for me? And then also to try new things that might work for somebody else. Try it out. Try out breathing. Try it out. Go and buy yourself a coloring in book and sit down with a few of your children or grandchildren's pencils and color in. See if that works for you. Try your own things and try what other people say. Try scaling. Where am I now? What do I need to do differently? What do I need to do more of? What would I need to do right now to just take a small step to healthy self-care? And then Cora said, oops, Cora, you say it's given you a complete overhaul to self-care. It's not just about a manicure. I recognize physical illness suffered by so many are burdened by overgiving. Yeah, I did think, Cora, maybe I'm going in with a bit, it's a bit too shocking, that Gabor Mate says our body holds the score, and if we don't say no, our bodies burn out. I thought, that's a bit harsh, but you know what? We are living in harsh times. We need to hear this. We need to know that our bodies are at risk because we are healthcare practitioners after COVID. We need to know that right now, more than ever before, we need to take care of our bodies because it is holding on to other people and our own stuff. So, of course, a manicure is awesome. And looking down at one's toenails and seeing, for me, the other day I decided I'm tired of always painting my toenails the same color. So I went and had a manicure and painted my toenails the color of that self-care doll's hair. Purple, purple, purple toenails, right? And suddenly, every time I look at my toes now, I think, oh, that's quite funky. It's for me, all right? Do things a little bit differently and do them for you. Do them so that they're a green little flag, that they remind you of caring for yourself, of nurturing for yourself, because self-care at the moment is essential. Say no more. Just say no. No, sorry, no. Wonderful angels of the shelter movement. Thank you so much for being with me today. My best wish is that you start identifying small green flags on a daily basis to take care of yourselves. Zubeida, thank you so much for inviting me.
Jackie, thank you so much. As usual, I think it was wonderful. I really appreciated it. And I'm sure so did everybody else attending. And I'm sure we're going to be able to take back lots with us. So we'll remember this for a long time. And hopefully that'll make people feel a lot healthier and a lot better. They know that they're caring for themselves. So thanks once again. And by the way, I'm looking forward to the book as well.
We are looking forward to that book. And as soon as it comes and as soon as it's ready, I'll let absolutely everybody know. So wonderful people from the National Shelter Movement, shelter your body, shelter yourself, save cells in your body so that you can also help others, shelter your own life by taking care of yourself. And once again, thank you for having me. Zubeida, those of you that need CPD points for today, all right, I am going to be sending you just a short, Geza will send you an attendance list. If you could just put everybody's name on that attendance list with their PS, PRC, or social work number, and then I will send you all the certificates and you can send it on to everybody else.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay, everybody.
Have a lovely day.
Go
Take
save
care.
cells. Go save
Bye.
cells.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye,
Bye-bye. Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.